It's been over a decade since portals started opening to another world filled with magical beasts. Conveniently, modern munitions are ineffective. Only those who awakened with magical abilities, dubbed hunters, can ward against them. At the top are the S-ranked, followed by A through E. Rank is determined upon one's awakening. There is no upward momentum. Bootstraps be damned. Ji-Nu, the weakest hunter in the world, meets up with his friend Ju-Hee before a raid. The most experienced hunter in the group takes the lead, and the party enters the dungeon gate. Surprised to have earned an essence stone of his own, Ji-Nu doesn't notice the goblin gunning for him. Ju-Hee calls out, but his blade shatters on impact as the goblin stabs his abdomen. Someone else kills the beast, and she stays behind to heal him. Essence stones are the hunter's main income. Taken from slain magic beasts, they're turned into weapons and armor. And then there are mana crystals, which are valuable as a powerful clean energy source. Thinking the dungeon's clear, the party stumbles on a cave that wasn't part of the initial report. The leader polls the others on whether to continue or alert the Hunters Association. It's a split, and Ji-Nu gets the deciding vote. He's in no position to turn down potential income if he's to help his struggling family. Meanwhile, in the city, a woman in a display of tactical acrobatics stops a thief by jumping over his motorcycle and grabbing the stolen purse mid-flip. Recognizing that it's Hei-Yin Cha, an S-rank hunter, a crowd forms. She disguises herself as if she works at the Daily Planet and leaps over tall buildings in a single bound. In the dungeon, the party comes upon a door leading into a circular chamber, adorned with statues and a tablet upon which are inscribed the temple's commandments. Ju-Hee freaks out. The statues' eyes are following them. The door slams shut. It's a trap. When someone tries to leave, one of the statues cuts him down. Panic ensues. Ji-Nu ruminates on his excruciating dungeon experiences. He's survived this long as an opportunist, and yells out a warning before a statue's laser eyes incinerate another hunter. The leader, down by one arm, thanks him for calling out the warning and asks for a little help with the bleeding. Another member tries escaping, speeds his expertise. He makes it halfway to the door before he's incinerated. Only his feet remain. Ji-Nu realizes that the tablet the leader found upon entering the room must list the survival conditions. The first is, "Thou shalt worship God." He stands up, the statue's eyes light up, but when he bows to it, they extinguish. The others follow suit, and a creepy grin appears on the statue's face. Now what? The tablet's second commandment is to praise God. So one of the party members who fancies himself an ethnologist begins praying, only to get crushed underfoot. Wrong God. It continues to step on them like ants. Thinking the walls are safe, another hunter eats it as an axe-wielding statue bisects him vertically. Ji-Nu takes Ju-Hee's hand. Frantically looking around the room, he notices statues holding instruments, musical ones, not those of dealing death. A note chimes as their eyes glow blue, but it only works one person per statue. So Ji-Nu tells her to stay put and then makes a break for another one, narrowly avoiding being trampled. When the god is appeased, Ju-Hee rushes over to Ji-Nu and screams when she notices half his leg missing. She tries to heal the stump, but without even grabbing the rest of his leg. Useless. There's still one final commandment. Prove thy faith. The god statue raises an altar from below. A loudmouth hunter unsheathes his sword. Blood for the blood god. It's sacrifice time. Approaching the altar, he turns on the leader. He asks one leg if he's figured it out yet. He hasn't. A flame ignites. As the hunters grow nearer, a new flame appears for each one, forming a circle. Then an outer circle of blue flames appears. The door opens, and the statues light up and start moving towards them. Ji-Nu notices they only move when the hunters aren't looking directly at them. Despite sharing this information, another of them books it towards the door and seems to have made it out. Her orange flame goes out, and the blue ones appear to be counting down. They have to prove their faith. The open door is the temptation. The guy holding Ji-Nu up loses his nerve and dips. He begs the rest to wait. However, only the leader and Ju-Hee stay. The leader's already lost an arm. One leg can't hobble out in time, and now their healer is paralyzed, having exhausted herself in her feeble attempts at healing. Just their 3 sets of eyes aren't enough to keep the statues at bay, so Jinwoo tells the leader to carry Ju-hee to safety. The blue flames aren't extinguishing fast enough. The statues make it to the altar and begin carving up the lowly E rank, lopping off an arm before skewering him and dropping him on the altar. When all hope is lost, a notification window appears, denoting a secret quest called Courage of the Weak. Apparently, he's met the requirements. He only has 0.02 of a second before his heart stops. Will he accept? Yes, obviously. The system congratulates him on becoming a player. Jinwoo wakes with a start in a hospital bed, all extremities intact. 2 men enter the room, introducing themselves as Jinchul Woo and Taesik Kang from the Hunter Association surveillance team. They inform him that he was out for 3 days. The others made it out, but the leader, Chi Yul Sung, is still 1 arm down, and Ju-hee is pretty traumatized. They'll probably retire. When the rescue team found him, the temple had disappeared. Jinchul asks Jinwoo if he experienced a second awakening. Though rare, it's the only way to rise in rank. Excited about possibly having become an S rank, Jinwoo puts his hand on the mana detector. It reads a measly 10. They apologize and leave immediately. Even E ranks score around 70. But then, how did he survive? And why didn't they ask about this user interface window hanging before him? His sister, Jina, shows up, though he's more focused on the notification panel. He asks her if she sees it. She doesn't, but shares a pro gamer tip. Check your inbox to read messages. Genius. 3 messages. The system is designed to help the player. Non-compliance will be penalized, and his rewards have been delivered, whatever that means. Then his daily strength training quest pops up with a list of exercises and a warning if he doesn't finish. Hae-in Cha meets with the White Tiger Guild master, who asks her to become a mentor with his guild. Jinwoo didn't take his daily quest very seriously, and at midnight, he's teleported to a barren desert, a giant centipede lingering above him. The objective: survive for 4 hours. Right before he's eaten alive, the event times out, and he's back in the hospital. Penalty quest complete. Lesson learned: he gets a full recovery, ability points, which he pulls in strength, and a loot box when he successfully completes daily quests. One day, he receives a teleportation key to an instance dungeon. 4 years before, Jinwoo's mother was diagnosed with eternal sleep disease after collapsing, which is thought to be caused by mana exposure. So he became a hunter to pay for her medical expenses and to support his sister while she studies. The next day, he decides to take a risk on the instance dungeon. When he takes out the key, a lock appears, and he opens a gate that, upon entering, disappears behind him. He must kill the boss or find a teleportation stone to exit. 3 goblins attack at once, and Jinwoo finds himself largely on the defensive. But when he sees an opening, he takes one out, then another, and the other. But before he can celebrate, a wolf appears and shatters his dagger. Guess it's time to punch it to death. Or not. If only he had he has an inventory, in which is stored Mr. Kim's sword from the dungeon temple. Perfect. 2 more wolves appear, and he manages to kill one, which scares off the other. It turns out that killing beasts levels him up. He receives 5 skill points, 2 more than his dailies. He can't loot essence stones. Game logic prevails, but he can sell the teeth he acquires for gold. A huge pack of wolves appear. The only way out is through, so he doesn't have much of a choice anyway. After dispatching them, he levels up a bunch and acquires the Wolf Assassin title. He's out of breath, and these new rules are wild. The durability of his sword is low. Weapons are disposable after all. His new title affords him a 40% boost to all abilities against animal-type monsters. He even got a teleportation stone and a bag full of other junk. Should he try for a boss run? Elsewhere, Ju-hee receives a call. There's a dungeon break and they need a healer. That's when a gate appears, and for whatever reason, no hunters go to take care of it. After a while, magical beasts come out. Back in the instance, Jinu notices his proficiency change with each level up. Even the monster's nameplates are changing from red to white. At level 15, he can sense an ominous presence deeper in the dungeon, thanks to his higher perception stat. He reaches the bottom, and it's on. He's knocked against the wall, the blade of his sword broken. Out from the water, a giant serpent rises. The boss, a blue, venom-fanged Kazaka. Broken sword in hand, he tries to penetrate the scales as it lunges towards him. It knocks him into the water and tosses him around like it's nothing. But he keeps getting back up, determined to prove everyone wrong. The snake circles around him, foiling his attempts to climb it, but he is resolved. He's put all the points from his dailies into strength, and it's time to put that to use. With his arms spread across the beast's throat, he cracks some of its scales and constricts the constrictor, crushing the tube of meat underneath its armor until it goes limp. The kill levels him up a few more times, and he gets a magic dagger for his troubles. The dungeon disappears from around him, and he's just in the metro station. Upon leaving, an armed soldier confronts him about being there, but then apologizes when he realizes he's a hunter and escorts him to the scene. They're in the middle of a dungeon break. Only the boss remains. Jinu can sense its presence. He makes his way there and finds Ju-hee still struggling. It's only been a week since the incident. There's a handful of low ranks fighting a giant golem. Jinu chucks what's left of his sword at the thing, shattering its defensive barrier. He casually strolls off, leaving the kill to the others. After a few more days, the nurses begin to notice how ripped he's getting. Was he always like that? When he gets home, his sister also notes his new physique, but she's too wrapped up in her own life to give it any more thought, and just rolls with it. Checking his stats, he wonders if he should keep dumping points into strength, and ultimately decides that some extra agility and perception couldn't hurt either. He gets a call from his landlord about the rent. Shouldn't be too hard to make some money now that he won't be mortally wounded immediately. But it's not like people are chomping at the bit to hire an E-rank hunter, and if he gets reevaluated, it might draw too much attention. Luckily, he gets a bite. Though he's still known as the worst hunter of all time, the guy he spoke to over the phone is cool with it. They just need an 8th member to enter a C-rank dungeon. Jinu is a bit uneasy about there not having a healer in the party. The final member shows up, decked out in some crazy gear for a D rank. He's also a temporary recruit. When they enter the gate, it's another dark dungeon like the temple. There are no glowstones to light the way, or beasts for that matter. Jinu's advanced perception informs him that they're dealing with insectoids, and they're coming from above. He warns the group. They tell Jinu and Jinho to stay back since the other members of the party have a good working chemistry. The leader uses a taunt, while the magic user readies a fire spell, then fries all the ants in its radius. It looks like the coast is clear, but something doesn't feel right. They get to looting, and the mage notices dead ants that weren't felled by their hand. There must be something bigger preying on them. Continuing through the tunnels, Jinu has a nagging feeling. No healer, and only 6 permanent members. They come upon a large room filled with mana crystals, which excites the party. Jinho asks to see Jinu's contract. He doesn't get a share of the battle drops, but technically he should get a cut of the mana crystal take. The leader agrees they'll split it evenly. There's just one problem. Above them, nested in the ceiling, a giant spider slumbers. It's the boss. They can't just kill it. If they did, the dungeon would close and they'd lose their chance to harvest the crystals. The leader asks where the mining gear is. They left it behind at the gate entrance. So he gathers his comrades and tells the low-rank temps to stay put and babysit the arachnid. Chi-Yul had warned Jinu about people who do all kinds of shady stuff in dungeons and get away with it. As soon as the 6-member party is clear, they collapse the entrance of the spider's lair, trapping the 2 temps inside with the boss, who is no longer asleep. Jinho promises to protect Jinu, but the E-rank tells him to stand down as he materializes his dagger. This one's his. Outside the dungeon, the party plots. Even if they can't get all the mana crystals out, picking the rich kid's gear off his corpse alone would be a pretty good haul. Jinu squares up with the boss, confident that he can take it. He is no longer afraid. He engages. The exoskeleton is too tough to penetrate with his dagger though, so he can't get a hit in, but he is able to dodge whatever it throws at him. Meanwhile, the trust fund baby quietly apologizes to his daddy. He picked a pretty terrible group for his first foray into a dungeon. Watching Ji-Nu freaks him out. He thinks he's faked his rank by concealing his mana somehow. False rankers are usually crazy powerful psychopaths who kill for thrills. The debuffs on Ji-Nu's dagger are his best bet for doing any damage. The only weak spot is its head, its eyes. He rushes the beast. It opens its jaws and spews a pool of acid. Ji-Nu narrowly evades, and it looks like he's got a new skill, Dash. Perfect timing. He closes the distance in an instant and tries to stab its head. Unfortunately, the blade doesn't penetrate. He's gotta go fast, maybe too fast. His fatigue reaches 70, and it slows him down enough that he takes a hit and is knocked to the ground. As the spider brings its leg down, Ji-Nu realizes that he still has his daily full recovery. The boss misses, and the E rank lunges for its head again, this time hitting an eye. The blade sinks in, and in, and in, and in again. The paralysis kicks in, and it goes down. Still freaked out, Jinho dotes on Ji-Nu and starts collecting mana crystals for them. When the party returns using one of the side tunnels, they can't believe what they're seeing. They survived. The party leader tells the trust fund baby that if he kills Ji-Nu, they'll let him live, thinking that it was his gear that helped him kill the boss. But the D-Rank decides to stand against the murderers and sides with Ji-Nu. Their mage attacks when Ji-Nu is distracted by a sudden notification of an urgent quest. He takes the hit. As he lies there, the message notes that 6 people want him dead. If he doesn't kill them, he'll receive a penalty. It's almost like the system needs him alive. It's kill or be killed. The party thinks his survival of the hit is a fluke, and their false sense of security makes them lose their heads. Literally. One after the other, in a matter of seconds. The leader fortifies his defenses, but it's not enough. Ji-Nu makes a crater with his skull using one hand. He begs the E rank for mercy. Mercy he never showed them. Off with his head. Afterwards, outside the dungeon, the association's inspector gives them the okay, believing it was an unfortunate tragedy and that they survived because of Jinho's gear. Ji-Nu receives a completed quest notification and a new ability, Murderous Intent, which cuts enemy abilities in half for 1 minute. Thank you for sticking until the end. Subscribe for more videos like this.